Is it somebody right on my core? This is the moment you're meant to know.
Well, hello there, sunflowers, and how are you guys today? Well, I'm here to finally talk about the alleged altercation, heated exchange, however anybody wants to put it. We will never know, but it happened at the Beyonce and Jay-Z Oscar after party that they host yearly. However, Justin Bieber and Usher had allegedly gotten into it. There are, as you can see right here, this picture by TMZ. Now, they did say that the altercation did happen. No, sorry, they exchanged the conversation. Let's put it. The conversation did happen between Justin Bieber and Usher. However, this picture that they do have up is not real. It was AI generated. And just like look at Beyonce's face. Okay, anyway, it was pretty good. I believed it. However, if you're wondering what could it have possibly been that led to this heated exchange, and also everyone obsessing over what happened at the Oscars after party, well, this is what Google tells me what the heated exchange is, because nobody is saying what it was about. However, it was allegedly triggered by tensions regarding Bieber's desire to distance himself from his past and his previous refusals to join Usher's Super Bowl show. And now recently, please tell me guys if you can find it. At least I couldn't find the videos on TikTok. I guess Debrat's Ricky Smiley episode hasn't found its way to TikTok, but she did recently an interview on the Ricky Smiley show, and she had spoke on the behalf of Usher, I will say. And this is what the brat had to say, in quotes. He's been nothing but supportive of plenty of issues that Justin Bieber has had throughout the years. And y'all can actually check the records for all that he has been. Usher wishes him nothing but the best, and they have no hostility towards each other. And now the brat, like literally this was just within the last 24, 48 hours that the brat has came out since this Oscars party to, I don't know, simmer it down, because the rumors just won't seem to die down. People are wondering, is this over the Epstein files? Is this over Diddy? Is this over the treatment of how Usher could have secretly, I don't know, been like a gatekeeper that like brought Justin Bieber in and took Justin Bieber literally and metaphorically? But hey, I don't know. And according to Google, that's what people think it is, the tensions that have arisen over the fact that Justin Bieber wants to disassociate himself from Usher. And do you blame him, guys, given the past they had? And honestly, we know that Justin Bieber has been very open about the Diddy treatment that he has gotten. So because of that, and we know Justin Bieber and Usher were like this, and then Usher and Justin Bieber were kind of like this, because Usher was kind of like Justin Bieber's mentor, and slash Justin Bieber was like shadowing under Usher. So because of that, you got to think about that. It's just, you know, what goes on in those Epstein files, and they really like to go for them when they're young. And this was just when YouTube was popping off and getting really popular. This was at the beginning stages of YouTube, and Justin Bieber was just one of those breakout stars that just happened to get famous among many other stars that have gotten famous off of YouTube and have been found off. Just another famous example, Haley and Holly. Yeah. Holly and Chloe Bailey. There we go. They are another prime example of being found off of the internet and then having superstardom. So because of that, we know, but that was the very beginning stages of YouTube for Justin Bieber. And he just happened to get found. There was a different time, different generation. It was pretty normal and common to give off your child so that way they could get into that industry. So it was like the parents are less hands off. And that's when, that's when the media started changing. And that's when Kris Jenner started making momagers popular. So because of that, you see the transition before and after. So because of that, you really got to think about the time and day it was for Justin Bieber growing up. But that, hey, honestly, you got to wonder. They have now said, and instead of saying it's a heated exchange, and instead of saying that it was an fist fight, they are saying that it was an intense conversation. So at least now we finally got the truth. However, there's no video footage of this fight happening or this conversation having. This a picture is AI so that we can have a visualization, but we never will know what truly goes on in those Oscar parties unless somebody is filming. And hey, who knows? Maybe people have to sign NDAs because who dropped that nugget? Its sources says. So because of that, you got to wonder, is this like a sort of distraction? But also we know that Justin Bieber has been lashing out. Fans will say that Justin Bieber has been lashing out lately. So because of that, this could just be one of those things with the cherry and icing on top. And you know what? Justin Bieber was like finally confronting his past. And it was just at this time. And you know how Diddy and Jay-Z and Beyonce were too. So because of that, you got to think about all that. It's suspicious that Usher was confronted. Did Usher confront Justin? Did Justin confront Usher? We don't even know that much. So because of that, we just it's all up to interpretation. And I just want to pull some cards on Usher specifically because I want to know, how is Usher feeling with this, with everything going on, with the Diddy, with the Epsteins, the pedos, all those different things. And now this slight altercation that has gotten the media talking. So let's figure out, how is Usher feeling with all this going on? The high priestess, very interesting. Sorry, not the high priestess, the high priest or the Hierophant, which usually symbolizes conformity. And this makes me wonder, is Usher now conformed, or is he going against conformity? So I'm just gonna have to pull a block card. The King of Pentacles. This is actually quite tricky because the King of Pentacles is an earth card and the Hierophant is also an earth card. So this makes me wonder, is Usher as the King of Pentacles getting in the way of his conformity, even though that's what he's trying to do now? Maybe beforehand, like his past is catching up. So let's just find out and pull some foundation card. The King of Swords. Okay. I wonder what this King of Swords symbolizes. We're going to have to figure out what's above at the top. But hey, in the past. Oh, the Three of Swords. The Knight of Swords. Okay. I was getting nervous. I was almost afraid he was going to be surrounded by swords, which wouldn't have been very good. But that does show you at this very moment that I do feel like Usher feels like his past is coming up to catch him. Sorry, guys. Hold up. I'm cooking chicken. It's about to go off. But no, Usher definitely feels like his past is catching up to him, because here I finally got my answer what this King of Swords symbolizes at his foundation. And what's right above his head is the Knight of Swords. And the Knight of Swords does whatever the King of Swords says. So that's because the knight is the messenger for the king. And both of them are facing in the same direction. And what direction do they happen to be facing? Well, in the direction of the past, where the Three of Swords card is, which are all within the same suit. So therefore, they all have the same kind of energy. So it's like that hyperfixation. And like I said, right off the bat, the only major arcana card that came out was Usher in this present moment, feeling like the Hierophant, conformity, traditions, following the societal norms, being challenged, maybe even like morals, with like having some moral, ethical conflict within inside of himself. All those different things are being drugged up because of the sword's energy. And that's why I feel like this block card is the Knight of Pentacles, sorry, the King of Pentacles, which symbolizes him with the pentacle going right with the Hierophant. That even though he's in his element and even though he's in control of the earth, his material realm, it feels as though the king has it. Why would the king one be in a block position? The only time the king gets in a blocking position if it's trying to cause friction or going up against an ideology that does not align with it. However, how could you not align with the Hierophant that's on your same element? So therefore, right then and there, that shows me that the king is in defiance of tradition, conformity, norm, society, standards. And that's exactly what Usher is representing, the inner battle conflict within inside of himself. And that's exactly what I see here, Three of Swords in the past, that before this altercation came and happened, he was already feeling as though everything that's going on, and then this with Justin Bieber was like that cherry, that icing on the cake, the cherry on top, because it's just like, what else could come from his past? And he's probably feeling a little bit defensive. That's why he wants to send the Knight of Swords. Maybe he could have been the actual aggressor in this situation, and that's why the brat is out here coming and talking for him. So because of that, you got to think about those situations, because it's like kind of doing damage control after this Oscar party, especially since and the sword symbolizes communication, the airways, and the social medias. And social media is a buzzing, it's a chatting, it's having those conversations. So his name is being spoken and is in the airwaves, and he's trying to do something about it. And it also pains and hurts him too that these conversations are being brought up as well. Like I said, it's in his past, but also at the same time in those same things, you can try to outrun your past, but eventually your past is going to catch up to you. And I just recently heard, listening to an astrologer recently talk about how I really like this, how you're like going to repeat like a certain cycle if you choose to interact with somebody, because we all have different types of relationships in our lives, and certain situations that really mean a whole lot more and bring impact to us, like the Hierophant being the major arcana card. That's going to be something that's going to be significant for him. So that type of relation for Usher with him and Justin Bieber, there was tension, and now that tension hasn't still resolved, he has still inner conflict. Of course, he was the aggressor. He was the one that was like, not literally, but metaphorically, I could feel like the pictures, the AI pitch, maybe it's just like what AI put, but like I could also see it just way the swords energy are, because they're so aggressive, they're so sharp, they're so quick with it. I could just see like Usher was probably like at the party and saw Justin Bieber and was just like, you. So because of that, that's the kind of energy that I got from Usher, and that energy. And then it was like that heated altercation, and then Justin was kind of like maybe like backing up, like, whoa, hey, I'm not trying to I'm not trying to like rock with you like that, trying to keep his distance. Like, well, why are you approaching me a little bit aggressively like that? So now everyone's like, like, did you hear? So like all those different things going on. And now Usher is probably like maybe looking at it in hindsight, in 2020 vision, realizing that he could have gotten, his emotions could have gotten the best of him, the Three of Swords. But he still is going to be on the defense with this Seven of Wands energy. And wands and swords are both weapons in a way, but Earth is very receptive. However, this Earth is not very receptive. His receptivity is coming out defensively. You know how they say people don't listen, they just are ready to react or respond. That's what I'm getting with Usher. He isn't listening to the temperament and the energy surrounding him. He's just reacting to it instead of sitting with it. And maybe that's what the Hierophant is asking him to do, but he's in resistance to that because he feels like he has to be proactive instead of being not proactive, regressive. If that's the sense, yeah, we'll go regressive instead of going out. We're going within, and that seems like something that he's not willing to exactly go for at this very moment. So because of that, it almost feels like a lash out. But let's just pull 3 cards to see this how Usher feels about Justin Bieber. Let's just, now that we've figured out how this altercation is sitting with him, let's just see this dispute. Now that we see how this dispute is sitting with him and the backlash that has came from the media, let's just find out, since those cards wanted to flip over. Not the ones that I saw are going to come out, but since the cards wanted me to stop right there, let's just find out what happened in this dispute between Usher and Justin Bieber. How is this going to resolve for Usher? Deception indicated. A relationship. How funny I took some time to talk about a relationship, not literal dating or not literal sexuals, just any type of relationship. Like a teacher student, that's just a relationship. Just anybody that's like outside of yourself is a relationship. How do you relate to them? You relate to them by XYZ. You relate to them by mother, relate to them by lover, relate to them by sibling, relate to them by mentor, relate to them by student, different those types of things. How do you relate to somebody? Anyway, moving on. And then the last card about how this is going to resolve for Usher is, actually, that is interesting. But you know what? I just recently learned something new about the sun. So how funny the sun came out for this. Speaking of deception indicated. So what do we see here of deception indicated is that the relationship with Usher and Justin Bieber is definitely strained. And when it comes from Usher's point of view, he feels as though he has been deceived, or he's the one trying to deceive Justin. Actually, you know what? Forget that. Usher feels like he is the victim in Justin Bieber's story. He feels like Justin Bieber is painting him to be the victim, and maybe that's exactly why he approached Justin Bieber a bit sideways. That got everybody talking, because it really came from a place of anger, and he probably needed to sit with that more, or maybe try to have a more, as this card says, more comfortable, more healing, a more conversation where you're able to process and have a conversation and communicate. Like I said, Usher's show, wow, he doesn't really take the time to back up. So because of that, that's where the disconnect is. As I said, if you could be a little bit more receptive and less more outwardly expressive, then he would be able to help both him and Justin Bieber move on, because they both need it in this relationship. And sometimes you could both want the same thing, but you guys approach it differently. And that's exactly what I see here of Justin Bieber and Usher. They both want to heal. They both want to overcome this. They both want to put the past in the past and move forward. But it's how you approach the situation is going to determine the outcome if you guys truly are going to move forward. And even though I see the sun here, which you would say that means they would move on more positively, they would move on brighter and better terms now that this dispute had happened. But the way I see it, and I just recently learned about sun, is that interestingly enough, not only can light expose things and bring things to the light and to the surface, which this situation definitely did. That's why we're all talking about it, because it's been underneath the surface. We've all been talking about it, but now it's like all the things that we've been talking about, rumoring about, speculating and conspiracizing about. It's like it finally came to fruition. It's almost like the fans manifested the tension and the beef between Usher and Justin Bieber. However, you would think that the sun's showing that has been exposed and that there is some smoke to this story. Like they say, where there is smoke, there is fire. So we definitely see that there is some fire to this story, that it seems like Usher is a bit guilty in doing whatever he has done to Justin, allegedly. as it says underneath here. But we also know that the sun can also hide things too, depending on how the light hits it, depending on where you are controlling the light. So there goes back to that deception of there goes back to deception indicated. It's all about being manipulative. It's all about maneuvering it and making it and molding it to your desire, to your liking. You're only going to see what I'm going to want to let you see. That's like the kind of sun energy that I'm getting. So because of that, all that for Justin Bieber and Usher's relationship and how it's going to be moving forward from this, I definitely see that the relationship seems unrepairable. I don't think there is going to be a coming together, at least not in the near future. Maybe years later down the line, but not like when Justin Bieber like maybe gets some help or he finally gets over it and he processes it, but he hasn't processed it yet. So because of that, in the near future, I just don't see that they are going to move past this situation. It seems like whatever that was the tipping of the iceberg to show that Usher and Justin Bieber are really not on good terms. So us as the general public for real now know that. So there is definitely something there. And with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this reading on on Usher and how he feels about his relation with Justin Bieber. If that being said, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already and become a sunflower and spread all those beautiful sunflower seeds. Spread beautiful, positive, loving sunflower seeds out there on the beautiful earth. And with that being said, please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed this content and enjoyed this mini read that I gave. Leave your comments down below. How did you feel? What did you think about the altercation? Do you think it's weird and suspicious that the brat is out here talking for Usher? Anyway, that being said, I will see you guys in the next one. And you know what I say before I hop off? Hype us up. Subscribe to us. Ayy. And I'll see you sunflowers in the next one. Sunflowers.